back's up against the wall, just know you got a place to stay. I know sometimes it gets hard, but all you gotta have is faith. If you can rise to it, you can rise through it. If you can rise to it, you can rise through it.
Hey, what's going on, family? And welcome to the Rise to It podcast, your home for personal and professional development. My name is Jonathan Hernandez, aka the letter H, and with me, my boys today. We got Frankie Liao, we got Mr. Andre Covington. What's going on, fellas?
What's up?
Hey,
What's up? What's
man.
going on?
Man, we've been staying busy. That's what's going on with Rise to It Productions. But Frankie, you're always staying busy. All right, you and the family. What's been going on in your world? We're talking about the events, upcoming events, the past events that we just had. But Frankie, you first, man. What's going on?
Staying busy, shooting comedians, shooting headshots. My daughter Mia May met a Saturday Night Live cast member, and that was pretty cool. You know, because she's met many famous people, comedians and celebrities and all this good stuff. But when she met Melissa Villaseñor, and she's a current cast member on Saturday Night Live,
That's big.
she was super like fangirling and stuff like that. And I think the reason why was because, I mean, Mia's been watching her since she was small, and just she watches the TV show. She's hilarious. She's super funny. So that was cool, man. Like that was a really good highlight for Mia to experience. But as far as just shooting here for Rise to It, I feel like we have events like every week, especially now towards the end of the year. I'm a teacher during the day, so a lot of the events are during the day. So I couldn't make it. But Celeste, my wife, always stepping in and taking over. You know, she said, "I got you. I got the camera. I can do this." And she said, "You know what? I think I need my own camera." Like and I was like, and the camera she wants is like $5,000.
Whoa,
Whoa,
hey,
whoa!
Wait a minute.
Time
Wait a
out.
minute.
Slow
I'm
your
like,
roll.
Let me see your pictures first. Like, let me see, like, first practice, and then we'll get
Right.
you, like, kind of, you know. But she's enjoying it. She's having a good time. But for this last event, the one that we did at Reedy College, she couldn't make it. Our son went to science camp. We call it SciCon.
Icon, yeah.
And yeah, he was gone for a week, and she had to go pick him up. So we're like, who's gonna shoot this? You know, and Evan came in. I got this, mom and dad, and yeah, he ended up pulling up, and he took some good pictures
Amazing.
from what I saw. Yeah,
It was awesome. Really awesome. If you guys are at one of our Rise to It events, if Frankie Liao's not in the house, it's either Celeste joining in. Celeste is part of the Rise to It family, but their kids, they're so talented, and so they're just talented across the board. One of them is going to jump in.
Yeah.
So I mean, we got to get some more kids. So if we're busy or something like that, they could be jumping in. So
Yeah,
shout out to
where can you send these kids for a week? I need to get that information.
Right.
I can send my kids away for just a week. I don't need 10
Exactly,
days, but that
exactly.
week sounds so good.
I forgot what comedian it was, but he had posted a meme or something, and it said, you know, it was like on the side of the freeway, and it said, "Kids eat free." And he was like, when can I drop them off? Like, I'll take
there you go. I like that.
I'm gonna drop them off, and I'll just pick them up later. But I thought that was
That's
hilarious.
great. Both of y'all have some kids. Like, I mean, I can't even imagine even just going to the drive-through or something. Like, you must be racking up that money. you know?
Oh
Yeah.
man, just think about it and times how many kids you got.
Exactly.
Whatever you
Yeah.
eat, they're eating just as much. I like the point that you said about your daughter who was fangirling over a celebrity, and I think that goes a long way in early development because she's getting entertainment, you know, and she's doing that, and she'll remember that. I remember when Walter Payton came to my school as a young boy, and he had practice. He left practice, came and spoke to us young men, young boys rather, and said, "Hey, I want you guys to focus on your schoolwork." And he threw the football around with us, and I was like, Walter Payton, man. I was like, you know, you look at him like he's a superhero. And he was muscular, and he was big, and he was so friendly, and he was talking to us. He was doing dance moves, and he went back to practice. I never forgot that, because now when people are fanning and over me, you know, I don't look at, oh yeah, whatever. I embrace it. You know, I want to talk to you. I want to get to know your name. I want to take this moment to let you know that I really appreciate that, and I got that from him, and it kind of like manifested himself in myself. So I think your daughter, because she wants to be in entertainment, she'll remember that. And she'll remember how she felt, and especially if she was on the good side of receiving it from the celebrity, you know,
Right.
who made her feel special. Yeah, and that's always important because now you'll look at people for what you should. That's people, you know, individuals who are taking the time to come up to you. You know how hard it is to come up to someone and gush over them that you don't even know. You know, it's hard to do that. So you have to realize that.
That's awesome. And Dre, I know you got comedy shows lined up as well. I mean, it seems like you with Rise to It and your own comedy shows,
Yeah.
you're doing things daily. So I know we had an event at Reedley College, awesome energy yesterday. And
Yeah.
we did something a little bit different for the administration, for the student services. Andre actually did stand up yesterday. So talk a little bit about that experience. And we got to jump in and talk about Eagle Days at West Hills College
Yeah,
Lemoore in just a
man.
bit. But yesterday, it's fresh. Reedley College, talk about that.
Going out, when you first called me, which I appreciate you because you look at me as someone who can fit into what you're doing, and you do things on a high level, and you do things that you're dealing with people who are educators. So they really are riding on your words and your content. So I took that as a challenge. I'm used to going to a comedy club, people are drunk, laughing at anything, and you can pretty much be yourself because you're on the marquee. And when you're on the marquee, people are now paying to see you. So they have to take exactly what you give them because, hey, I'm the star. You're here to see me. This is what you get. When I come into your world, and I talk to young comics about this all the time, I have to now moderate myself a little bit and kind of like I'm playing to your audience from your perspective. So I have to now censor myself. Sometimes in mid-speech, I'm I'm doing a joke that I would do in the club, but I'm editing it in my head to make sure that it doesn't come off as crude or, vulgar, that's important because I didn't want the educators to lean back and go, why is this guy even here?
Yeah.
So when I saw them laughing, and right from the start when I said, hey, I don't know why I'm here, but, I'm going to pay my student loan. I promise you.
Yeah, that was great.
I don't know if this is set up. I don't know what's going on. And they laughing right away. And I just felt, okay, now I can go into my stuff and do it. But a lot of it was because the stress that they're under and what they're getting to get back into coming out of this pandemic. There's a lot of things on the table that they have to address, a lot of uncertainties, X factors that they have, they think they may have a solution for, but they're not 100% sure. So there's anxiety. So if I can, for a brief moment, take them out of that and give them some laughter, then I feel like I've done my job. And if I can just make one person laugh in that group, then I suck. I should make a lot of them laugh.
There we go. Yes.
But I'm there to have a good time, and I'm glad that they do. Because you said that, I'm just going off of what you told me, and you said you got good feedback from it.
Oh,
So
it was great. No, it was no good feedback. It was great feedback,
All right,
And
cool.
so if you don't see Andre a part of the team anymore, he took it a step too far, and we
Yeah.
had to let my man go.
My
Where's
walking
Andre?
papers, yeah.
Exactly. It's like this podcast. Remember he said that? Yeah, he went a little bit too far on the
Yeah.
last one, so he's no longer part of it. But shout out to you, man. You're always bringing joy to everyone around you. Every time I'm with you, I'm always learning something new. But I mean, just instant joy, and you're able to read a room unlike anyone else I've been a part of. Professor, educator. I mean, we're all educated. We're all, teaching your kids, different lessons, or me being around you. But you just know your audience, man. And every good speaker, every good educator, every good comedian, if you can know your audience, man, you can do some real big things. And that's why you've had success, and you're gonna continue that, man.
And that's why I was shocked when that one educator, administrator, ran on the stage and tried to tackle me. I was taken aback. I was like, everywhere we go, we're under attack.
Is that Dave Chappelle? What's
Yes,
going on?
what
Yeah.
is happening?
Man, and Reedley College, awesome energy. I mean, that was an event that I'm going to remember for a long time. And it was very special to me because I went to school there. That's where I started my academic journey in community college. And speaking of that, man, West Hills College Lemoore. Let's not forget about that. Eagle Days, though. Their arena is beautiful. And if
No
you haven't
doubt.
stepped on campus and seen the arena yourself, it is just absolutely gorgeous and definitely worth the time to go check it out. But talk about Eagle Days, because I know you were there doing your thing as well. So
When you talk to students, that's a whole nother level of dealing with individuals because they're easily distracted. They're not impressed by anything. It's just they have their own mind. And then and I go back to when I was a senior going into college or whatever, I knew it all. So why are you talking to me? I know everything there is to know. You sound like my parents. So those are the issues and the challenges you have. You don't want to come off like mom and dad. You don't want to come off like, I'm a buddy because you don't really respect your buddy's information that he's giving you most of the time. So I try to find somewhere in between there and capture their attention. I do that with stories. I try to get them to understand that I was once where you were. I do things like that because I know that there were administrators there were faculty there. And what that is for me is I comb the surface and I look for opportunities for them to do the deep dive, because that's why they get paid the big bucks. To do the deep dives, to find out why that person's excited for future enrollment. If we can get that excitement from others, then we can get more to come. And why is that individual afraid? And we need to address the issues that they're afraid of so that we will now keep them here, that they won't get so afraid that they stop coming. But that's not my job.
Right.
My job is to just bring it out there and let them see it. I think we know whose job that is, and I'm going to leave that up to you,
Yeah,
Doctor.
absolutely. Absolutely. Before we get into our very, very special guest, I want to give a shout out to Mr. Kenny Sides, who is just off the chain with energy at West Hills, and I'm looking forward to just seeing this young man grow up and become what he wants to in his career. And he hit us up immediately. He's like, man, that event changed my life. Like Dre
Wow.
was hilarious, but also he was spitting some knowledge, and we appreciate you guys coming to West Hills, and we love hearing those things, man. We love getting those messages. But we gotta continue the conversation about West Hills College Lemoore. Today's special guest is someone that instantly, I believe we were introduced through my brother from another mother, Gustavo, one of just family to me. And he goes, I have someone that you need to connect with. And I never told this individual, our special guest, this, but I actually heard about him before I met him. And so before my buddy Gustavo even mentioned his name, I was like, I know who you're talking about, because he was teaching, I believe, in Mendota at the time. And so we'll have a conversation about that. And so I kept hearing, Dr. H, man, you got to link up with this dude. He reminds me of you. And I was like, whoa, like that's like, oh man, he was awesome, a game changer, life changer in the classroom, super inspiring, motivational. And as soon as I met him, I knew exactly what they were talking about. And so our special guest today, man, I am just so blessed to have Mr. James President. I should say J Prez, because we used to say JP back in the day, but he has earned the position of president. So we got my man James Preston, aka J Prez, in the house. Over here.
Thank you, John. Thank you.
West Hills College Lemoore president. James
you,
Preston,
H.
how you doing, man?
I'm blessed. Like you guys, just honored to be here today. Excited to talk about education, and just excited to be here.
That's awesome. And J Prez, I gotta change that a little, because I'm so used to calling him the JP, but James, like throughout the years in education, I know you've talked about you were an English major, you started teaching in the classroom, and that's actually where I heard some of my buddies in the Mendota area that were just like, this guy is like, he'll start rapping. So talk a little bit about like your energy in the classroom and your energy as a professional, and how your years of higher ed has really just, given you everything in your life. And your wife is in the studio today.
Yes, she is.
Beautiful wife. So your beautiful family, you talk about them. Talk a little bit about that journey on how you became West Hills College Lemoore president.
Yeah, it's been a journey, and Mendota was foundational for me in that journey. But to go back, we always talk, now you're at a community college, you talk a lot with students about, what do you want to be when you grow up, and finding the right pathway, finding the right degree. But I had no clue. So I went away to college, no clue. I was playing music at the time. I thought that was my future. Graduated. I knew that I needed to get a degree. So I got my bachelor's degree and then came back to the Valley. And I was substitute teaching. I was an instructional aide for special education out at Kerman High School. And my wife knew that from a young age, she wanted to be a teacher. So she got held back in third grade. And then made it her mission to never had any kid get held back in third grade ever again in the history of the world, which hasn't happened. But she got to live her purpose. So while I was trying to figure it out and be in a band and make some music and had no clue, she went back and got her teaching credential. We were engaged at the time, and so she'd bring her stuff back from Fresno Pacific, and I'd watch her do her thing. And then one day, literally watching Dead Poets Society in a movie theater,
Okay.
I was like, I love English, I love reading, I love writing, I love creativity, and I love teaching. Because like I said, I was substitute teaching, and the light bulb literally went off above my head, and I was like, okay, this is what I need to do. So my first opportunity, I was given the opportunity by one of my mentors, Al Sanchez, who invited me out to Mendota to interview, and basically just held up a mirror and said, breathe. And I went, whew. He's like, you're hired? Because they needed 4 teachers. Like school was starting in like a week, right? Wow. So it was basically like, breathe on the mirror. Okay, you're alive. And then do you want to coach basketball or soccer? And I was like, winter season indoors, I'll go with basketball. So that started my, coaching career as a JV girls basketball coach at Mendota High School, which also ended my basketball career. 4 years later, I didn't coach anymore, but it was fun. But no, Mendota changed me. I had my family's originally from England. I moved over here when I was 10 years old, but I had a very just blessed upbringing. very standard upbringing, very middle class upbringing. And when I went out to Mendota, just the students and the families from that community helped me to understand Hispanic culture more. And I was just, I was amazed and I was blessed. And it helped me figure out how to be a great educator. And I went in, same mission I have 30 years later is to make a difference each and every day that I step foot on a campus. But that really, that time there really made, I knew after about 3 months, this is what I'm going to do for the rest of my life. And I didn't know whether it would be in the classroom type teaching high school English, but I knew that I would be in education. And I also knew that no matter what position I was in, if I wasn't making a difference, that I shouldn't be in that position for very long. So shout out to Mendota High School Aztecs. I still stay in contact with a lot of my former students, class of 98. They were unbelievable. And at the time I was 23, had some hair and grew a full beard because I wanted to look a little bit older because I had some, seniors that were only 4 or 5 years younger than me. So it's strange now, 30 years later, that they're close to me in age, but I stay very connected to them. So from there, I started community college. I taught for 11 years at West Hills College, Lemoore. Loved the classroom, just passionate about the classroom. Had a couple opportunities. Always had leadership in my bones, and so I was Senate president. Lots of leadership opportunities. Started the 5C Experience program for middle school students. T.E.A.M Teach program for future educators. So even though I was in the classroom, I was building programs. And then had the opportunity to step into a dean position back in 2011. And oftentimes people ask you when you're a college president, like, was that a goal? And it wasn't. Not even a year ago, it wasn't, quite honestly. For me, it's always been get up, work hard, make a difference, and then doors will open. And then you have to choose at that moment. God opens doors for you, and you have to choose whether you want to step through. And there were times, quite honestly, H, where in terms of going from the classroom to administration, that doors opened and I didn't step through. And because it was all timing, Jen and I have 3 kids and, they were in middle school the first time I had that opportunity. I'm like, now's not the time. And you hear like, well, this might be your only shot. I'm like, okay. Because, we're people of faith. We pray about it. We have peace about it. And so that's been the journey. And honestly, I know it's a cliche, like you want to make a difference. And it's a cliche to say, I love my job so much that it doesn't feel like work. Then call me a living cliche, because that's where I'm at today.
Amen, brother. And here at Rice Stewart Productions, we're big advocates for community college, man. I mean, that's where I literally started my journey, and we've all had experience with that. What are some of the misconceptions that you find having conversations with other people about community college now that you're at the helm? I mean, you're leading an entire college, James. Like, that's crazy impressive. So can you talk about that?
Yeah, I mean, community college, the system we have in California is amazing, right? So 2.1 million students. 116 community colleges. It's the biggest system in the state in terms of education, in the country in terms of education. The pandemic, we went from 2.1 million down to 1.7.
Wow.
So the last couple of years, across the board, doesn't matter who you are, doesn't matter whether you're university or community college, we've lost students, a lot of them. And now's the time to build back. And so we're excited about that. But I think probably the biggest misconception, oftentimes it's a default, right? So oftentimes it's like, I guess I'll just go to community college, it's cheaper. Right, and that's true. I mean, that's absolutely true. I mean, nowadays, with federal grants, with college promise grants, basically tuition is free for 2 years at pretty much every community college in the Central Valley. So cost is better, right? You can go into your junior year at a university really debt-free. Yes. But one of the big misconceptions is quality, right? I'm just going to go to a community college, but I know it's not a university. I know it's not UC. I know it's not Stanford, and I know they don't have the same type of professors. I shoot that down. I shoot that down completely. I mean, we've got some of the most incredible faculty at West Hills College, Lemoore, and they're truly educators. I feel that community college teachers go into community colleges because they love working with students. They're not lecturers. They're not researchers. They can be, and they can do all of those types of things, but they love working with students. And so most community colleges, you're sitting with 25, 30 students. You get to know them by name. You get to know their story. You get to impact them on a very different level than if you're lecturing to 450 students at a UC school or a state school. So I think just the quality of instructor and the quality of instruction is there. And then I think the other misconception is that people get lost in the community college system. It's, we used to call it a JC, right? Junior college, because it was supposed to take you 2 years and then, you're supposed to move on and be a junior. And to be fair, if you look at our system, it doesn't take students 2 years. It takes them anywhere from 3 to 4 to 5. Part of that is just their circumstances. They're working multiple jobs. They've got families they're helping support. But part of it is our system, and we needed to change that. And so John's familiar with it, but there's a guided pathways movement in the California community college system that really lays out 2-year programs for transfer degrees, or 1-year program if we want to get into a vocational, go straight into a career technical program. That's really taking that time and bringing it down. So you can get in and out in 2 years. And you can take all of those 60 units and transfer them to a four-year university. So yeah, I think quality and the amount of time, I think people throw that around, and I don't think it's accurate. I want to be a myth buster today.
There you go. I love that. And I actually want to incorporate Dre and Frankie, and then, of course, Jay Prez. When we talk about the students that we're seeing right now, there is a lot of anxiety. There is a lot of
No doubt.
just shyness that they have, timid, whatever you want to call it. Even at Eagle Days, I know we've talked about some of the students that were there, and then over time you could see them just warm up. And so, Jay Prez, how have you seen the pandemic affect not only just the students, but some of your faculty, staff, admin directly on your campus?
Yeah, it's been a journey. March 2020, the world changed. And we navigated it, and we were innovative, and we were there for our students. But I think Eagle Days really, Dre and I talked about this a little bit before, really crystallized that for me. So Eagle Days was the first time in 3 years, since 2019, that we had this event. It's basically an orientation, right? Bring students onto campus, get them excited about their next step in their journey, financial aid, registration, connect them to campus clubs. So if I go back in my mind to 2018 Eagle Days, we had 6 school buses rolling up from 6 different schools and high school seniors, right? So if you think about a high school senior, you think someone that has senioritis, they're like 5 weeks away from graduating. They are hyped up. It's Friday and they don't have to be at their high school. And they would literally come off the bus doing cartwheels. We actually had to our job was to chill them out so we could communicate to them, right? I talk about the learning zone. Sometimes people are hyper and you have to chill them out so you can communicate, or their other side, they're mouth breathing and they're bored. So you got to get them ramped up so they get into that learning zone. And so that's what Eagle Days was. And as they came off the bus this year, all 350 of them, I met them as they walked off the bus, and I gave them an eagle wing or a fist bump, or if they weren't comfortable with that because of COVID, a head nod. But there was a lot of averted eyes and masked up faces, and literally counselors and career technicians walking alongside them, telling them, it's okay, you got this, you can do this.
That's great.
And so when we got in the arena in the morning, we kind of did our kickoff stuff. It's usually very light, very fun, and there was kind of this heaviness, this uncertainty, this anxiety around all of them. And so our job that day was to break through that. And we did, and I think one of the keys was they went on campus tours with some of our current students, and they could talk life and how they navigated it. But put your 15-year-old self through a pandemic, right? We have kids at that age and we watched, right? But we're adults, and it was hard. It was hard for everybody, no doubt. But I don't think my 15-year-old self would have navigated it very well. So this class that comes to us this next year, they were sophomores when the world shut down. They spent their junior year on a computer trying to engage on Zoom, most likely without a camera on. And then senior year, come back to wearing masks and staying at a distance. So what we heard from high school principals when we went to go visit in November was they feel like everyone's just missing 2 years. Whether it was Layton High School with 100 students or whether it was Lemoore High School with a couple thousand, the story was the same from all the principals. They said very clearly, our freshmen and sophomores are more like middle school students in terms of maturity, so we're having a lot of discipline issues. Our juniors and seniors that missed out their freshman and sophomore years came straight into most pressure cooker time in terms of what's your next step in your life and academics. And so we're having levels of stressing, anxiety, and mental health we haven't seen before. And our question is, how do we help? And their answer was, you just got to be there. You got to be in person, send your people out to our high schools. We're tired of electronic flyers and Zoom sessions and text messages. We need people to be in person. And so we went back in fall of 21 at West Hills College. More was 70% in person, which is a really high number. But we needed it for our community. Our students are rural. They don't have access to Wi-Fi in many cases. They don't have access to food in many cases. We have our Eagle Pantry. So we needed to be on campus, and we needed to be safe. So we did it with a lot of measures in place. But so the big lesson going forward is, this group, I think Eagle Days was symbolic of what we're going to see this next year, right? That it's not going to be the same. But if our role is to support and encourage those students and get them to where they felt like on Eagle Days at lunchtime, where they were comfortable and they were laughing at Dre's jokes and they were connecting with you as you were speaking, and then we even got them dancing on the arena floor. Right, that's how I see this next year going. Right, in the beginning, and so we're working with our faculty, a lot of training. talking a lot about mental health, what support, what services can we provide for our students to kind of give them a little extra when they come back in full.
That was beautiful. And Dre, like, what about you? I know you have your kids too. Have you heard from them directly, or maybe their friends? Because I know they go to your house and they hang out, which is a blessing, man, to have all of them in the house. But have they
Yeah.
talked about that? Have you?
Yeah, we have had discussions, and I try to connect a little bit deeper. I know my son, who's 6, he was in preschool, and then it all went away. So he didn't finish preschool. He didn't go to kindergarten at all. It was all homeschool, all Zoom classes and whatnot. So, but he's going to first grade. And just last week, my wife took him to the school where he's going to be going. And they showed him around. And kids are in school, but he got to see where he's going to be in the first grade. And he came home. He was like, "Dad, you're not going to believe." And they were playing. And then the kid said, "Hi, Eli." And I was like, "Hey, I got a whole bunch of new friends." You could see the excitement. Because that's the one element that a young kid really misses is the interaction with other kids.
Yeah.
You take that away, it's like, you try to do as many play dates, but it's nothing like your kid coming home and saying, "I made a new friend today." And the particular school he's going to, they have like a sad chair. It's like a bench. If a kid is sad and they go sit on this bench, then immediately other kids go sit next to them and say what's wrong and talk to them. Immediately. Sometimes the teachers say, "Well, we have to point to someone's over there." But most of the time, the kids will go over there and they'll console the kid because that kid's having a moment, especially. And they said, with this pandemic, it's that chair, that bench gets a lot of action.
Yeah.
But the kids are making it better. So they're excited. My middle daughter, she's in high school, so she missed out a little bit of middle school, but her freshman year she was there and she's on the track team, so they're picking right up where she left off. But there was a moment there where you could just kind of see them. They were down, so I try to do things. Let's go get ice cream today. Let's go, let's go hang out. But it's just, I couldn't imagine, looking back on my childhood, not being able to go to school. That's where the girls are. How are you going to take that from me? But you look at it and it's just, wow, you shake your head. That's why I told the kids, I'm so proud of you, all that you've gone through, to be able to have this moment. But now that's going to be that's a testimony, in life. If you don't have a testimony, you don't have a foundation to draw upon, or to encourage others. I encourage others with my testimonies, the things that I've overcome. My elementary school was in Jet magazine because I was in a African American school, and I saw it in Jet magazine. I was like, "Oh, my elementary school," and it was after I'd got out, but it was going back in time. They were saying this school was rated the worst elementary school
And then they had a picture of Dre here on the cover.
Worst student.
But I was there during the time frame they had it in the country.
Dang.
Yeah.
Can you imagine that Benton Harbor Elementary was rated the worst elementary school in the country educationally, where I went for my formidable education early years, and to come from that. Come on, man, that's a testimony. So I try to let people understand that, it's not where you start, it's where you finish.
Amen, brother. There you go.
Usain Bolt's first race ever, he didn't have any shoes. The fastest man ever in the world ran his very first race with no shoes around a hot track in Jamaica. That's why he was moving so fast. His feet was on fire.
I was gonna say, yeah.
So those types of things, and I'm so proud of you, President, for how you have just stepped in and you've been hands-on. Like, you were there when we got there. You were there when the students got there, giving them the wing, and that says a lot. A lot of people get in your position. They want to get in that office, close the door, and instruct everyone else, go out there, go do this. And they just sit in the comfort zone and just bark out directions and instructions. You're hands-on. You get right in there. You get your hands dirty. And that's something to be very proud of. I'm sure you look at that and you wear it as a badge of honor. It's something that you said, you know what, this is how I'm gonna do it. Yeah. And I don't care what the other people do, I'm gonna be in the mix.
Yeah, I gotta be honest though too. That's part of the reason why I struggle when that position opened up about whether to even throw my hat in, right? Because I think leadership should look different today. It's got to look different today. And there's some fantastic leaders like Al Sanchez, my pastor, Mitch Rivera, back in the day. I've just watched them do it differently, with passion and compassion. But there's not necessarily that level of formality. Like I get uncomfortable even people calling me, President Preston. First of all, President Preston's not good to say in a pandemic because you're spitting anyway.
Yeah.
But I'm like, it's JP or it's James or it's Mr. P. My students call me Mr. P. So J Prez, right? I'm a man of many nicknames. But I think it's incumbent upon us to connect and not sit, behind a door, and we've got to interact and we've got to engage. Because if we don't, then we don't know who we're serving. We've got to know our students so that we can serve our students. And so one of the things, as my wife and I were praying about this next step when that door opened up about whether to apply, a lot of people, it's very humbling because a lot of people were like, well, of course you're going to do it. I'm like, okay. Because that wasn't really my thought, necessarily, but I realized, and I, kind of made the commitment, if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it as me. Because the me that you see here is no different than the me that my wife and I, we get to hang out all the time, or my kids see. It's just who I am. And so I'm going to be my authentic self. And at the end of the day, when I go through this application process, if that's not who, West Hills wants as a leader, then I totally respect that. And if it is, then game on. So thank you for that. Yeah, I appreciate it.
No problem.
Jay Prez, I will say this because you are so humble, and this was apparent the first time that I ever met you. When we stepped foot on campus at West Hills for Eagle Days, I was like, hey, where's Jay Prez going? I found out he's playing ping pong with some students. I found out
distracted.
he was doing a 16 bar, doing raps to get him pumped up for the morning. I'm like, who does that? Well, Jay Prez does that. Yeah. And so Dre was talking about the leadership, and you were, kind of giving that sample of that. But I want to know even deeper. When I met you, there was something that, like the foundation that you had, whether it was your parents, whether it was the friends that you had surrounded with you every day, and you were able to just, kind of get their leadership qualities and their style. I mean, you do have your own style, man. It's nothing that's fake. It's nothing that's phony. It's authentic. It's genuine. And I felt that the very first day. Talk about your childhood. What shaped you as a leader that is now the West Hills College Lemoore president?
For me, it's family and faith. I mean, those are the two cornerstones, there's no doubt. So, family-wise, I mentioned a little bit of a different background. My family was from just outside Liverpool, England, and we moved to Fresno, California when I was 10 years old.
Culture shock.
Culture shock, yeah. Talk about culture shock. So, back in England, we wore, uniforms. So I remember the first time one of our neighbor girls came over and knocked on the door. My parents said, when I opened the door, I just ran away because they don't have girls in England. I mean, they do, but it was I was like, what?
What is that?
Yeah. So, wearing jeans and a T-shirt. And it was interesting because I was almost like a novelty because I had an English accent, right? So I've been here now for 42 years. So now I sound like I'm from California. I went to school at UCSB, and that was kind of my turning point. I always say in high school, by the time I got to high school, I sounded like I was from the East Coast. And then I went away to Santa Barbara for 4 years, and I came back to the Valley. I was like, dude, yeah, bro. So, it kind of changed me. But I'm the only one that sounds like this in my family. Mm-hmm. So it was culture shock, and it was different. But my parents, huge part of who I am. My mom, I think, really, I would say the first 40 years, I was much more like my mom. Just an amazing, caring, unbelievable human being. She's a creative. She's an artist. She's a sculptor. And she's just a blessing. And she had this gift to listen that I didn't realize was so powerful. So, when I came from England, I wanted to go back. I didn't like it here. I wanted to go back. That's where all my friends were. That's where all my crew was. Didn't call them a crew back then, but my little chaps, I guess. But they, I remember coming back from school and going into my room and just frustrated, throwing things around, crying, like, I want to go back. I don't like this place. And I always thought that she came in and gave me these really inspirational speeches. And when I look back on it years later, I realized that all she did was come into my room and listen. And she'd let me vent. Yeah. And I would just vent, and then she'd leave, and I'd feel 100% better. So just a listener, a creative, really had an impact on me. And then my dad was self-made. So he started at 17 in the cotton industry. And that's why we ended up moving to Fresno. And so he's a businessman. He's always been seen as a leader. And I kind of fought against that for years. I didn't really embrace that. I think part of it, maybe just, I don't know, throughout my adolescence, it was like, I don't want to be like that. I don't want to be a businessman. I don't want to be that. But I've realized the last 10 years that a lot of his leadership that he's, exampled, I've seen, a lot of more of the strategy side of things and innovative side of things. I think that comes from him. So really, family, it's that. And In terms of faith, I have my wife to thank for that. I have a number of people in my life that.
We got to give her a shout out. Shout out.
Yeah, thank you for that. So we're just blessed, and we've got Triple T, Taylor, Tobin, and Travis that are all now early 20s.
So your kids have
late
nicknames
teens.
too?
Oh
Is this-
yeah,
okay,
yeah. Oh,
all
yeah.
right.
No, everybody has nicknames.
When your wife leaves, we got to give her a nickname before she gets on out
So
of here.
so Triple T and Z. So Z's the son-in-law. We just added him in. He kind of messed us up because we were the Preston 5, and now it's Preston 5 plus 1. But no, shout out to Zach. We love Zach. He's amazing. But yeah, so faith has been a journey for me. So I actually accepted Christ when I was 23, but I was drawn to faith by people that I would call Christian verbs. And so I hung out with a lot of people that were religious and claimed Christianity, but I would say, I'm an English teacher, right, by trade back in the day. So a noun is a person, place, or thing. So someone would say to me, I'm a Christian, right? And at UC Santa Barbara, I would be hanging out at a party in Isla Vista, and they would be doing one thing, and I'd be doing something that wasn't as bad as what they were doing, but they'd be telling me about their faith, and I'd be looking, going, I don't get it. I don't get it. But God put into my life a series what I call Christian verbs, right? They're people that are literally doing what they believe, right? James 1:22 says, do not merely listen to the word, but do what it says, right? So people that were living out their faith on the daily, and Jen, my wife of 28 years, was the first one that showed me how to do that, and didn't preach to me, didn't hit me over the head, just trusted and believed that at some point I'd get it. Her parents, same thing. My pastor, same thing. Jody Rubel, who's a lifelong friend of mine, same thing. I just watched these Christian verbs, and so for me, once I did make that decision, that's been part of my goal, is just to glorify God in the work that I do by being a Christian verb day in and day out. So family and faith. And then I've always had team. I guess I didn't throw that in the beginning, but my friends from high school were still very close. We're the Charles Street gang because we weren't like literally in a gang, but we were, my house was Charles Street. So we'd all, we'd hang out together at that place throughout our high school years. It was still very connected. So that's family to me. Those guys are family to me. I've got my Mendota family. I've got my 5C family. I've got my Golden Eagle family. And now I've got my Rise to It family.
Hey.
So family and faith, really the cornerstones for me in terms of leadership.
That's awesome. And when we talk about the leadership, and we want to do this with every episode, because what we're finding is, and out of all the leaders that I've had in my lifetime, and Dre, maybe you want to speak on this, or Frankie, no matter who it is, they all have the same qualities. It's always about how do we serve other people, right? So did you want to talk about that? I know you've had a lot of leaders, and Dre, same thing. We were at Dre's house the other day, and we were talking about some of the mentors that we've had. So that's why we were talking about, oh man, you got to meet Jay Prez, but you want to sprinkle in some knowledge right there?
Well, like the other day we were talking, and you had asked me, like, what do I think a leader is? And I said, somebody who leads by example, somebody who can inspire others, right? Like that, to me, that's what a leader is. And it seems like you're doing exactly that when you're going out and you're not just behind the desk, but you're out living or, inspiring by example. So to me, that's a leader. That's a true leader. That's somebody that would inspire me and make me want to go out and do my best if I see my boss pretty much there with me doing it, So, yeah, that's powerful. That's powerful. And I feel like all leaders are like that. They're like to please people or people pleasers, and they're all doing it. They're just not giving orders. So, because nobody just wants to give orders. So,
Dre, what about you?
They come in so many different walks of life, and then they come into your life, and sometimes you don't really appreciate it till later, and you see, wow, what an amazing leader that was. I look back on my Little League baseball coach, and one time we were playing the top team, and we were all nervous, and he showed up at the game. He had shaved one side of his mustache off just to get us to laugh, He was like, loosen up, guys. Look how silly I look, And then another game, it was the semifinals to the championship, and we were tight. And, we're just doing a warm throw, and everyone was dropping balls. So he goes, all right, guys, we're going to do infield warm-up. So you go to your positions, and he had no ball. He said, act like you're fielding the ball and make the play. So he had a bat, no ball. He said, I'm hitting the third base. Third baseman would go down, scoop it up. He'd throw it. He turned up a play. He'd throw it to second base, throw it to first base. And outfielder, hit the ball. Okay, make a diving catch. And the outfielder running and diving. He goes, great catch. There was no ball. And we were making all these great plays. And he goes, Andre, do a spin and throw it to first base. I was shortstop, so I cut and spun around, throw it to first. He goes, amazing throw. We won that game. no errors. We played spectacular, but he had the foresight to say, well, if I go out here, these guys are tight. They can't even catch the ball just throwing it back and forth, warming up. They're going to make all kind of errors. They're going to get down on themselves, and we probably go out and lose the game. So I think one thing about a leader is being able to read the situation and then come up with a game plan to let everyone walk through whatever portal you need to walk through to get to where you need to be. And I look back on my life, I've been so many, a pastor, I just went to a funeral of a childhood friend, and one of the pastors was there when I was a kid. And I was talking to him, and I said, he's older now. He's got his cane, and he's feeble, and I'm helping him up. I said, I want to tell you, you really inspired me as a kid, because I look at you now, you're still married. The way you carried yourself. He goes, yeah, but I'm a lot older now. I said, he had this big cane. I said, Moses had a cane. So this is not a sign of weakness. This cane is a sign of power.
Let's go. I got to get my brother. Hey,
Yeah, So he goes.
there we go.
He looks at me. He goes, I'm gonna use that in my sermon.
Yeah.
So it's how, and I appreciated that, because I just wanted him to know, and he appreciated it too. That because you never know who's watching you. And you talk about your faith, and you don't know what student's watching you. They're watching. You know what they're waiting for? This is what kids especially wait for. That moment of weakness for you. That moment when you are living up to what you're preaching to be, so they can go, aha, it's a I got you moment.
Absolutely.
And when you're not able to give them that, when it's all said and done, they can't do nothing but respect you.
For sure.
At the end of the day.
President, when we talk about the leadership that Dre's, hinting on, I see that with you all the time. You lead by example. You don't say it, you do it. Growing up in Central California, myself, I know Frankie and Dre's been all over the country. The world. I know. What are you doing at stand-up? He's all over. I'm like, where you at? I'm in Dubai. What the heck's going on over here? I'll call you later. That's an expensive call, man. For Jay Prez, Central California, I know in the last episode we were through Irma, and I was making some jokes about, it's not a joke. I think we have the best food in the world, but we also have the hardest working people here.
Amen.
When I'm waking up at 4:30 and I'm on the freeway heading to work, I'm seeing people in the fields and I'm seeing what they're doing to provide for their families. And that motivates me. That inspires me. And I'm like, man, I thought I was getting up early. There's people that are beating me because they have a purpose. They have a why. What do you think is unique about Central California? We're so proud to be from this area, but you've had experience, living from different places. So what do you think's that unique, special thing that we have in Central California?
Yeah, I think, like I mentioned before, the concept of family and faith, like I said, Mendota changed me as a human being, and I learned that at a whole different level when I was out there, because I think I learned what the Central Valley was all about. And so family and faith for sure. I think one of the things that the Central Valley 559 is all about is respect, in that you need to give people respect first before you get respect. Oftentimes we come at it, I remember in the classroom initially talking with some people that had been at it a while, and they weren't happy with what they were doing, right? They're like, people should respect me because I'm an authority figure. And I started all of my classes telling people, I told my students, I hope to earn your respect. And you got to earn it. You can't just automatically get it. But I think people respect each other in the Valley. And I would say that the Valley collaborates and is almost like a team more than any other area that I've seen. It's pretty amazing. So I was, just the last couple of days, I was at a convening called CVHEC, which is Central Valley Higher Education Consortium. So it was all of the college presidents from all of the community colleges in our region, from Bakersfield to Stockton. Additionally, all Fresno State president, Fresno Pacific, UC Merced, everybody together, but we're all in there collaborating. We're not competing. Right? And people oftentimes in education say, well, we're competing for students, because if you don't have students, then you're not going to be able to survive or thrive. We're having these collaborative conversations about how do we work together to come back from this pandemic, right? How do we recover, and how do we do it with equity in mind for our students, right? How do we come back different, and how do we come back better? But we're sharing examples. Robert Pimentel just got hired at Fresno City College. Worked with him out at West Hills College for years. So excited about the work he's doing. And Angel Reyna at Madera Community College, new president there. They just had a session a couple weeks ago for men of color, right? Because if we look at community colleges, our men are disappearing. They're disappearing from colleges, and they have been for decades. So what are we doing about that as we come back? So I think that's what's different about the Valley. My son, one of my sons, both my sons are in college, in different regions like I was, and then came back to the Valley. And they both told me on different occasions that, Dad, we're just built different in the Central Valley. He's like, we're different than the people I'm meeting from Northern California or Southern California. He's like, we're just built different. But I think that difference is hard work, and I think it's respect, and I think it's a sense of community and working together rather than competing against each other. And it's far from perfect. It doesn't always look like that, but I think that's the heart of what we're all about in the Central Valley.
There we go. Mr. Preston, before we get into our lightning round, because we're going to speed things up and we're going to get you some answers quick off the top, right? Freestyle.
Okay. Yeah.
What do you look forward to in your role, at West Hills for the future? What do you look forward to? What's the future hold at West Hills?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing, like we talked about, is recovering right now with equity, coming back. Our words for the year, the words that I've kind of told everybody that we want to rally around, are hope and flexibility. And I would say that coming back, we don't know what's coming next. We don't know if there's another round. I mean, things look promising right now, but we know how to do this now. So in terms of being flexible as a college and flexible as a community and a country, we know how to navigate that. But the other thing is hope. That's huge for me. We just, I was sharing earlier with Frankie, I was loving the podcast studio. Yeah. And I was telling him how we want to put one in at the college and call it the Hope Studio. We got a gift, very generous gift from Mackenzie Scott, about a year and a half ago. And if you don't know Mackenzie Scott, she's the ex-wife of Jeff Bezos. And if you don't know Jeff Bezos, he runs a company called Amazon. Yeah. And if you don't know Amazon, then I don't know what you don't know. But her life mission is to give away half of her half, right? And so we were blessed with this gift, but we formed the Hope Initiative, which is having opportunity and promise through education. And it's really trying to serve groups that are underserved in our community. So we've got pre-college hope, right, which are things that are going to help serve our students before they come to us. Our college hope, which is like our new Emoja program for our Black students, for the Puente program, others that we're starting to develop, and then community hope in terms of how do we reach out to populations formerly incarcerated, foster youth, just populations we haven't served well, and we could do better serving. So I think going forward, I don't know exactly what it's going to look like because I don't think any of us can read the crystal ball anymore, but I know that hope's going to be what we're all about at West Hills College Lemoore.
Excellent. Dre, I think it's time to do that Rise to It lightning round.
Lightning round. Real bells for the lightning round. All right. Now, the lightning round will get more electric as we go down the line. So you'll have a little more time with my questions, but relatively speaking, about 30 seconds.
Okay.
So if you can knock them out. All right.
30 seconds or less.
We'll knock them down.
Yes,
okay.
Sir.
Workout regimen.
Probably 5 days a week, couple days, like 3 days a week running, couple days a week doing weights because my wife makes me because she's all into fitness and says it's good as I'm getting older. Okay. And then I actually became a walker during the pandemic where I just walk and talk with people with my headphones on.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Downtime activities.
Vegetation, which looks like laying on a couch, watching a lot of NBA basketball and Premier League soccer. And then also we kind of geek out on like Voice, Idol, whatever the singing show is of that particular season.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Coming out of high school, going into college, what was the dream then?
Oh, Chum and the Frenzy. Shout out Chum and the Frenzy. You can catch them on Apple Music because we just put that on a year ago. Yes, that was my band. Back in the day, I sang. I had hair, Dre. It was like a Shaggy Mo. I used to play around. Used to play with some bands back in the day, Black Fried, Trojan Country Club. So kind of like a alternative rock, funk, blues scene going on. So that was a dream.
Oh, okay.
I was going there, and then it didn't happen.
Oh, yeah. Well. Obviously, you and I go to the same barber.
Yes, we do.
Yeah, we go there regularly.
From another muddy, yes.
We're in there.
Yes, we do.
After seeing our barber,
yes.
Is it oil or moisturizer?
It's SPF 30.
Okay, yes.
Yes.
Keep the sun off of it. Okay. I have mine's built in. It's right in there. So it's in the melon.
Mine is not.
Yeah, okay.
Mine is not.
And last but not least, because I kick myself with some of the friends that I had early in their lives, such as Chris Tucker, Jamie Foxx, guys who I'm friends with to this very day.
Yeah.
But I remember when we were all very poor and driving around. And I didn't pose this question to them, so I'm going to hit this to you.
Okay.
If you were to become president or dean of Harvard University, which comes with an enormous salary,
Yes.
could you give me $10,000?
Absolutely, 100%. I give you more.
Do we get that on tape? Did we get that on
Yes.
tape?
We have it.
I did not ask Chris Tucker and I did not ask Jamie Foxx, and I kick myself to this day. There you go. You've made it through Dre's lightning round.
That's good.
All right.
Frankie.
All right.
Okay. I'm
It's
not
like
gonna
a
give you.
competition right here. This is good. All right.
Okay, so you don't have 30 seconds to
Okay.
answer mine. You have 5 seconds.
5 seconds.
to
All right.
answer mine.
That's
Maybe
8 to 10 words
maybe
right there.
10.
8 to 10
Yeah,
words.
maybe
Yeah.
10 seconds.
Okay.
Okay. Pineapple on pizza.
No. Stomach ache.
That's either a I love it or I hate it.
I hate it.
Everybody I meet either I,
I
love
can't
it or
stand it.
I hate it. Hate it. Yeah.
Okay.
That was easy.
All right. Beach or mountains?
Beach for sure. I do like the mountains, but beach is my peace jam. Yes, beach.
Okay, so you're going to the city. Are you going to LA or New York?
I try to avoid Los Angeles, so even though I'm a Rams fan and a Dodgers fan and a Lakers fan, so I'll go watch them. But otherwise, I probably want to go to New York only because I've been a couple times.
This is a good one. So I know you work at a college, but when it comes to sports, would you rather watch college sports or pro sports?
Mainly college. But NBA playoffs is a lot more like college basketball because they play
Yeah.
defense. So I
actually
start
play.
watching NBA around
Amen.
playoff season.
Yeah.
Yeah, but mainly college.
Yeah, like I feel like the NBA now, like they're getting lazy, right? Like I watch them play, nobody plays defense. It's just
No, like during the regular season, it's 130 to 128, and then first playoff games, it's like 83 to 79.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
oh yeah, I just
They're
remembered
playing.
how to play defense.
When it comes to movies, are you gonna rent a comedy movie or are you gonna watch an action-packed movie?
I think comedy for me. I just
Come on.
Yeah, I need light in a heavy world. I need light. Yeah, so yeah, definitely comedy.
Excellent.
Perfect.
Frankie,
Thank
lightning
you.
round. We got Dr. H lightning round coming up real
Okay,
quick. I'm going to throw a
okay.
bonus in there, a wild card, just because of the
Okay.
dynamic we have. We have a lot of beautiful people here in the studio, so we're very blessed. Very quickly, because I know you're into music. Tupac or Biggie?
Tupac,
West Coast, Coke or Pepsi?
Coke.
Favorite pro sports team? Because you talked a lot about, but what's your number one favorite?
Number one, because of my childhood, Liverpool Football Club. You'll never walk alone.
Okay, all right.
Yes.
Favorite sitcom of all time?
Oh. Probably Friends. Probably Friends.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
Pivot. Pivot.
Favorite restaurant in Central California?
I'd like to say Vino's right now. My wife and I just kind of we're renting right now. We just sold our house of 20 years, and so we're right by the spot called Vino's, and absolutely love it.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
And speaking of love, we got the wifey in the studio
Yes.
today. Some of the most outstanding things you could say about your wife, because I know you guys are going on vacation, all right? So this is going to be either a light time or a dark. So watch what you say, because you're going on
Yeah.
vacation right after this taping. But talk about your wife. What what do you love most about her?
What are you're trying to do? Like who's the reporter that tries to get everybody to cry?
Yeah, Barbara Walters.
Yeah, you're
did
than to
back
do like
in
a
the
Barbara
day.
Walters
Yeah.
moment right
A
now.
moment.
Well, like Jim Nance does the same thing at the Masters.
Yes.
He goes, "Remember your father passed away," and they try to get him all choked up. Yeah, no. Jen is my beautiful bride of 28 years. Yeah, just amazing, beautiful woman, inside and out. And it's been fun to watch her grow as we've grown together, raising our family. And people talk oftentimes about what are you going to do when your kids leave. We were empty nesters as of like 8 months ago, although we're now not empty nesters because our oldest moved back in and they're having a baby. But we had this empty nesting, but we were excited about it. You know, we were excited just to have time for the two of us. So, yeah, like I said, Christian verb, reason I have faith. Love of my life. Met her in my junior year of high school. Wow. We were in Spanish class together, muy bueno. And we were in a study group together. I was a little unfocused in my studying.
Bet you were.
I was.
Bet you
I
were.
was. So quick story though, like I asked her out on a date our junior year, and we went to see Beverly Hills Cop 2. It's very fresh in my mind. But she was not feeling it at the time. She was not feeling like the love that I was feeling. So we didn't we just went to the movies and that was it. I got friend zoned. And then at the beginning of my senior year, I started almost dating somebody else. And Jen said she realized that she felt jealousy. She's like, wait, if I don't like him, why am I jealous? And she wrote me a poem and came over and baked me some cookies. And the rest is history.
That's awesome.
That's what I'm talking. Hey, come on, man. Wow. Love story right there.
Family. Nothing says
Tissue,
love.
please.
Nothing says love like Axel Foley in Beverly Hills Cop 2. Shout out to Jace Preston.
right.
And shout out, I just want to say, man, on behalf of Rights to It, like all of us, man, are so impressed with you when you meet you. It's just like you're so humble, as we said, and your heart's big, man. Your heart is big, and everyone can see it, and you have been shining light on Central California, and I am looking forward for you to continue to shine light on everyone, including myself, man. So thank you so much, brother, for joining us on this episode, man.
Thank
We
you.
love
I'm,
you.
I'm humbled. I'm humbled, Ace, to be invited and just blessed. And yeah, thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
And was the Eagle Wing? The Eagle Wing.
with the golden
Eagle
eagle,
Wing.
baby.
All
Eagle
right.
Wing, yes.
Eagle Wing right here.
Yes.
Family, thank you so much for joining us on another episode of the Rise to It podcast. Y'all, 2-finger spread. Try your best to stay positive. And as always, if you can rise to it, you can rise through it. We'll catch you later.